Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Countdown to Infinity. Almost sort of forgot the name of the show there, but that's fine. We are back. This is episode 12 of Countdown to Infinity. Today we are talking about the film Ant-Man, which I assume is about some sort of bumblebee. But before we start talking about that, I'm James, and I'm joined by Matt. Matt, how's it going?
It's going well.
How's your day?
My day was pretty good.
That's good. I played a whole bunch of Sea of Thieves today.
I saw that. How was that?
Pretty fun. It's a pretty fun game. Not going to lie. I will almost assuredly be finishing this podcast, eating dinner, and then probably playing more of it. So
nice. This episode of Countdown to Infinity has been brought to you by Sea of Thieves.
Sea of Thieves. Please send us our check now, Microsoft. I would appreciate that. It'd be super sweet. All right. Hey, we're here to chat about Ant-Man. This is the final film in Phase 2. It's kind of a weird... I didn't look into it. Probably should have. I'm not entirely sure why they decided to officially end Phase 2 with Ant-Man and not with just Avengers Age of Ultron, but that's the way they've sort of grouped them together.
Yeah. It's a little weird. It does feel like it's if not officially, it's at least sort of honorarily the beginning of Phase 3.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was likely it's because it was in planning and pre-production throughout Phase 2 with the intent of it coming out during Phase 2 prior to the Avengers. But the production problems that plagued it, like this movie was in development for 10 years? So
we can talk about that in a bit.
Yeah.
But I guess first, I mean, we always kind of just right off the bat say if we liked it or not, and it's kind of a given that we're gonna like all these movies. We've said we like them all, but I still like this movie.
It's fine.
I still think it's kind of fun, and there's a bunch of neat stuff in it. And is it the best? No, but is it still enjoyable? Yes.
Yeah. It's fine.
I'm
not super gunned on this movie. It's fine.
That's fair. Well, I'm excited to see where you put it. But that's at the end of the show. The beginning of the show is to talk about what the heck happened in this movie. So, Matt, what happened in this movie?
All right.
Other than my dog barking.
I can hear your dog barking.
Yeah,
our viewers,
you explain.
Our listeners can hear our dog barking too. So, in this movie, we have Hank Pym, who back in the late 80s was a member of S.H.I.E.L.D., along with Agent Carter and Howard Stark, and another guy, Sir, introduced in this film. And he has invented the Pym particle, which allows him to shrink down to the size of an ant. And S.H.I.E.L.D. wants it from him, and he is not going to give it up. So he resigns from S.H.I.E.L.D. in anger because they want to take his particle, and he doesn't want to give it away. In the present day, he has retired from his company, and it is now run by his former protege, Darren Cross, and his daughter, Hope Van Dyne. And Cross has been working on the technology to make a shrinking suit of his own and allow him to shrink people down to the size of an ant. But he hasn't quite perfected the formula yet, and he keeps turning cute, adorable little lambs into tiny little puddles of goo. So, anyhow, Scott... Alongside this, we have Scott Lang, and he's a thief, a bit of a Robin Hood character. He's in jail. Today's the day he gets out, and it turns out that he was sent to jail because he was robbing companies that had done people wrong and returning the money that he stole to the people that had been done wrong by these companies. So he gets out. He's got a daughter. He wants to be a part of his daughter's life. His ex-wife and her new husband, or I guess she's engaged, are looking after his daughter, and so he wants to be part of his daughter's life. And his wife or ex-wife tells him that he needs to get a job, get an apartment, and pay child support, and then he can be part of his daughter's life. And he does the math on that and realizes that it's going to be over a year before he'll be able to see his daughter. And so he decides to do one more job in order to get enough money to pay his back child support. His buddy happens to have a job on the line, and so he lets him know, and they plan to break into this house of an old dude who has a safe in his basement. So they break in, and they break into the safe, and there's a suit in the safe. And upon getting it back, they think that the job has been a bust, but Scott puts the suit on and discovers that it allows him to shrink to the size of an ant, making him some sort of Ant-Man. And then it turns out that, in fact, Hank Pym, owner of the suit, had known about the break-in and had, in fact, set the break-in up to test Scott and see if he could do it, because he needs somebody to break into Pym Technologies and steal Darren Cross's new suit and all of the data that allowed him to build the suit and do the research necessary to figure out how to shrink people to the size of an ant. So anyhow, throughout the movie, we see training montages of Scott trying to learn how to be an Ant-Man. We see planning around this heist, and we get a bunch of jokes because this movie leans a little more heavily on the comedy. Anyhow, so they execute the break-in. Things don't go quite exactly as planned. Cross, who it turned out was planning to sell his Yellow Jacket suit to former members of Hydra, he basically ends up killing them, going kind of crazy, putting the suit on himself, going after Scott's family, and Scott proceeds to save the day in a variety of large and small fight scenes. He saves his family, he becomes a hero to his daughter, and ultimately, becomes the Ant-Man. And that's basically what happens in this movie.
Wow. That is okay, so I really want to know, I want somebody to go back at some point through this podcast series and measure the amount of time it takes Matt to give the rundown, and then compare those lengths to where it falls on the scale of movies he likes. Because at this rate, this episode is going to be shorter than the explanation of the last episode.
Yeah, you're probably right.
So
there's probably a correlation there. But, I didn't miss that much.
No, you didn't. It is a very straightforward A to B to C movie.
Yeah.
There is not a lot going on. And so the one thing that I didn't do off the top of the show was the whole directed by this person and all this stuff. And I'll do that now. Directed by Peyton Reed.
Yep.
Screenplay by Edgar Wright. We'll talk more about that in a minute. Joe Cornish, who is his writing partner. Adam McKay, who was brought in to workshop the script after Edgar Wright and Joe Cornish left. And Paul Rudd actually has a screenwriting credit here, which is the first and I think only time the star of the movie has had any hand in the writing of it. Now, obviously, that's not to say that every single actor probably doesn't have some sort of involvement in how their character talks, and I'm sure that it's very unlikely that many of these movies are being spoken word for word from the script, and I'm sure that, again, these people have input, but this is the first time that one of the actors actually has a full-on writing credit, which is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then we've got our cast. We've got Paul Rudd. We've got, how do you actually pronounce the woman's name?
It's Evangeline Lilly.
Evangeline Lilly, thank you. We've got Corey Stoll. We've got Bobby Carnival, who is the boyfriend. We've got Michael Pena, who's his old cellmate, along with T.I. Harris, and is Anthony Mackie? No, Anthony Mackie. Anthony Mackie is the Falcon, obviously.
Of course.
And then we've got Wood Harris, Judy Greer, and of course we have Michael Douglas. You can't. Some of these Marvel movies, you just have to get one of those way above the mark actor, right?
Yes. Yeah.
He is the Anthony Hopkins
of this film.
And I love that they do that, personally. I love that they get these just incredibly well established, old school actors of both stage and screen to come in and do these really relatively goofy roles, to be honest.
I mean, in this one, it lends the movie a sense of credibility because part of the whole premise of this one is that there was an Ant-Man back in the 80s during the Cold War, and that, he's passing the torch. And so you need, like, a believably, like, leading man kind of actor to play that older Ant-Man character so that the audience believes that, like, oh, there totally could have been an Ant-Man movie 20 years or 30. Oh, God, I just did one of those things where, like, the 80s was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But 30 years ago, there totally could have been an Ant-Man movie that had Michael Douglas playing Ant-Man. And, that it really does, like, sell that aspect of it by having that kind of an actor in that role.
Yep. No, I agree. This movie came out June of 2015.
Yes.
Actually, technically, I guess July of 2015. It's a little long at 117 minutes, I would argue.
A little so qualify that. It's a little long for what it is.
Yes.
It's a little short for a Marvel movie.
That's fair. Well, I mean, it's not in the grand scheme of things. I think it's I don't actually know the average. I should figure that out.
Yeah, I mean, this is a 1 hour 57-minute runtime, right? Like it's sub 2 hours, which feels positively compact for a Marvel movie. But it does admittedly feel long when you're watching it.
Yes, it does. Cost $142 million to make, made a little over $500 million at the box office. Can't really argue with that.
Yeah, I think that still makes it one of the poorest performing Marvel movies, though. Like particularly adjusted for inflation. I think that puts it like it may actually be the worst one, short of maybe the first Iron Man. No, sorry, not Iron Man. The first like Incredible Hulk.
Oh shoot!
I'm gonna let you look this up now.
Yeah, Box Office Mojo MCU, not Rotten Tomatoes MCU. It is so adjusted. Do you want adjusted for inflation or not?
Let's run down both. What does it place on both scales?
So it's 16th in overall
out of 18 so far.
Out of 18 so far, it beats Captain America and it beats the Incredible Hulk.
Right.
It does not beat Captain America by much. 176,000 versus. Wait, what? Is this opening? No, this is total grosses. What? This can't be right.
You're looking at the webpage.
Yeah, I am looking at the webpage. I'm just very. Oh, this is that's
domestic.
That's why that's domestic. I'm the Wikipedia page shows worldwide.
Gotcha.
So worldwide, let's go worldwide.
Yeah.
Worldwide unadjusted, it's number 15
out of 18.
Out of 18,
ahead of Captain America, the Hulk, and
Thor.
Thor.
If you're going for adjusted ticket price, US, it's 17th.
Yeah, behind or ahead of the Incredible Hulk.
Just ahead of Incredible Hulk. Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yep. So, and I think that's fair. But let's get into the big part. So, I was reading a little bit about it.
Yeah.
Ant-Man has actually been something that has been talked about being made into a movie since as early as the late 80s. So Stan Lee apparently pitched the idea to New World Pictures, which I don't even think exists anymore. Hasn't
Probably
for quite
not.
some time. But they were the parent company of Marvel, of the Marvel whatever. Marvel Comics parent company at the time, I guess. And I guess their concern at the time, I love this, by the way, their concern at the time is that Walt Disney was at the time developing Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. And apparently it went into development, but nothing really ever came from it.
Right.
Apparently in the year 2000, Howard Stern met with Marvel in an attempt to purchase the film rights.
Huh.
I don't know why. But apparently that was a thing. And then as in 2003, that's when Edgar Wright first wrote a treatment with Joe Cornish in 2003.
12 years before the movie actually came out.
Yeah, so this is a movie that just clearly has a past.
And 5, 6, 7 years before Marvel Studios existed?
Yeah. So clearly, Hollywood has thought for a very long time that there needs to be an Ant-Man movie, and okay, fair enough. And I guess talking about it more in the modern day sense with MCU, that was going to be Edgar Wright's job. Edgar Wright was going to be story. He was going to be screenplay. He was going to be the director. This was going to be his movie. And he wrote, I think I read that he wrote 3, maybe even 4 drafts of the script before, I guess, they reached something that they thought was going to work and then just sort of didn't. Again, from what I've read, he wanted to make a very standalone movie that didn't actually take place really inside the MCU at all, and I'm guessing that's where a whole lot of the creative differences came from.
Yeah, I mean, my understanding was that it basically centered around the Falcon scene, where they wanted it in, and he was like, "Are you no?" And that was
interesting.
The creative differences.
I mean, there's a lot. So there's the very first scene of the movie, which is, back in the 80s. And there's, Stark and
Peggy Carter.
Thank you. Going through this whole thing. And obviously that's a really big, shout out to the MCU. One of my favorite things to sort of poke fun at these movies about is just completely addressed, which I freaking love. It's honestly one of my favorite parts of the movie, just simply put, is when he's just like, first thing we should do, let's call the Avengers. And I love that. That's such a, I want that. I don't want that to be in every movie that isn't the Avengers. But I think it worked so well in this specific movie.
Yes. And they give you a good reason not to. Well,
yeah,
good, sort of.
Well, good. I mean, Hank is just they're a bunch of, they're off doing their own dumb, stupid thing, dropping cities, and he obviously has he has beef with Stark.
Yeah, I spent the 80s keeping this out of the hands of Stark. I'm not about to turn it over to him now.
Yeah, which is fair. I'm guessing a lot of these are the things that Edgar Wright didn't want in his film.
Probably.
And then obviously the massive scene, where he, goes to upstate New York, where he thinks he's about to infiltrate what is just an abandoned warehouse, but it turns out, oops, hey, remember the big brand new Marvel or big brand new Avengers facility that we saw at the end of Ultron? That's where this thing is. Awkward. And it's a great scene. I love that scene. But I love that scene because it ties it into this bigger universe, and that's what I love about these movies. Mm-hmm. I can see from a creative standpoint why Edgar Wright wouldn't want to put something like that in his movie.
Yes.
Which is fair.
Yeah.
So, I tweeted last night after watching it that this is a movie that I still enjoy watching, but I would love to see Edgar Wright's version of this film, because I don't think what we got is really anywhere close to it.
Yeah.
Again, from everything that I was looking at, Paul Rudd, Adam McKay came in and basically rewrote the script and say, at its core, at the story's core, this is still Edgar and Joe's film, but we changed some scenes and added some people and removed some people and expanded some people's roles, and it's just like, okay, well then you basically just rewrote the movie. And I think they've basically they've all but admitted saying that, we basically rewrote the movie. But again, at its core, maybe the story is still there. But
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I've always sort of taken it in the reading I've done around it that it's like they took the skeleton of it. Right?
Yeah.
Like the idea we know from just when casting happened and certain things that came out when Wright was on the project that, like, Wright was planning it as a heist movie, that Hank Pym and Scott Lang were both going to be in it, because both Paul Rudd and Michael Douglas were cast before Wright left the project, like that kind of thing. But
Yep.
I'm fairly certain that, like, most of this movie was redone. And there's actually, they have probably not taken that much from the original script.
No.
The one thing that everybody, like, the one scene that everybody refers to is like, oh, that was Edgar Wright, which is when Lewis is telling the story of how he learned about the job.
Yeah.
By all accounts I've read, that was not ever in Edgar Wright's script. Like, that was a wholly new addition, despite being the, like, super tightly edited scene for the movie, was like not even considered in Wright's version of the script. Like, that's just a wholly new addition. And like I think one of the things that did make it was the train fight at the end, like that set piece on the train set was taken from it, because, like, I mean, it's such a good set piece, right? Of course you take that.
Yep.
But yeah, I get the feeling that, like, Paul Rudd was brought on to add more jokes to the movie when he did his script rewrite. So I have the feeling that it was probably a little more serious, not totally serious, but a little more, like,
I don't know. I mean, my assumption would be that Edgar Wright's version of this movie would still be a pretty humorous movie, just based entirely on all of
his other works.
Exactly. Every other movie that he's basically made. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. At any rate, he didn't do this one, and we got Baby Driver, so all comes out in the wash.
I guess that's fair. So I guess let's talk about the actual movie itself, and not so much the drama surrounding the director and writer and all that jazz. There isn't a whole lot happening in this movie.
Yeah. So I have gripes about this movie. I have a few gripes about this movie. So the premise of this movie is that it is a heist film. It fails at being a heist film.
I don't think it's...
It is, though. Like, the promise of this movie was, like, we're going to take superheroes and apply them to other genres, like a heist film. But it just is not a good or exciting heist film.
I don't really ever feel like I was supposed to be sold this movie as a heist film, though.
Well, that was in pre-production. That was how they talked it up. And the
movie,
in
pre-production, like, Edgar Wright was supposed to be the producer, the director, right?
But, like, the movie essentially, like, the second act is a heist, right? Like, that is what the movie is about. He is training to run a heist, and then he runs a heist. And a better version of this movie would have actually delivered on that. Like, it's completely reasonable for this to be a heist movie where, like, yeah, we're recruiting this guy and we're going to give him superpowers because he's a really good thief, and we want him to be a superpowered thief so that he can do an impossible heist. Cool. That's a great concept for a movie. That's the concept for this movie. They just really don't execute on it very well. Second gripe. Evangeline Lilly is woefully underused in this film, and I feel bad for her character. She spends the entire movie getting doors slammed in her face. I hate it.
That's funny that you say that, because apparently her character was one of the characters that was actually expanded upon.
I know, and that's
from Edgar Wright's screenplay, which is a little concerning to me, because I don't really know how she could get significantly worse. Because yes, I agree with you, and there's obviously not much we can do about it now, other than hope to hell that they do not make that mistake when it comes to for the sequel to this movie.
It's borderline unforgivable to me, what they did to Hope in this movie, where she is the most competent character in the film by far.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
She's like the one who knows what's going on. She's the one who knows the company. The only good explanation they give for why she's not the one in the suit is that Scott is expendable, but Scott being expendable is not outweighed by the fact that she's way, way, way better qualified to run this heist.
Mm-hmm.
And then when the heist actually, like, all they had to do was give her something important to do, right? Like, that would have at least fixed some of the movie and some of her treatment if she had, like, if when the heist came around, she actually had an important job and was an active participant in the whole heist and not just like showing up and pressing one button while trying to evade Darren Cross and keep him distracted. Like, they could have done so much more with her, even if they weren't going to put her in the suit. And then so I'm skipping ahead here, but the credit scene ends up being kind of backhanded, I guess. Like, I don't want to say it's a slap in the face, but it's like, oh, by the way, we've got this suit for you. You're the Wasp in the next movie.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay. And this was coming like on the heels of the controversy that surrounded Age of Ultron and how like Black Widow is basically the only female superhero in the universe. And, you know, if she's not properly representative of being a female superhero, then to all people at all times, then she fails as like female representation in the films, and then, you know, the whole to-do around that. And then to follow that with a movie where it's just like, I should be in the suit. No. But I should be in the suit. No. But I'm the most qualified to be in this suit. God damn it, no. Like, come on. Come on. So that frustrates me intensely with this movie. And then it's also just kind of loose. Like, I don't know. Like, this movie does not work very well for me. I wasn't over enthused with it when I saw it in theaters, and you know, I was a little softer on it this time when I rewatched it, and I've rewatched it a couple of times since I saw it in theaters. But it's still like, this movie is not great.
Here's something that I was curious about when watching it the second time. So his big motivation, which is to say Scott's big motivation, is getting himself back to a stable position to provide for his daughter.
Yes.
Who loves him.
Yes.
How does she know him?
Well, we don't know how long he's been in prison.
3 years.
How old is she? 4.
Like 5?
5, yeah.
Like 4 or 5. Like, I'm pretty sure they straight up say that he was in jail for 3 years, right?
I don't remember.
Now I don't remember, and I guess it's a little awkward if it's not. But it's like, the math does not check out there.
Yeah,
it's just, I don't know. Like, that's definitely a little nitpick. Like, it's fine, whatever. It's like, you know, little girl idolizes her dad. That's sure. But I just was like, oh, wait, hold on. If he's been in jail for 3 years and she's like 5 years old, that means the last time she saw him, she was like 2. I probably don't have that great of memory of him. You probably didn't visit him in jail very much. And
also,
if you did, how did you become best friends? I don't know.
So now I'm diving this a little bit deeper, because it also is played when he gets out of prison as if he's had a change of heart with regard to wanting to be involved in her life. Because he shows up at the party, he's like, you know, I thought it over. I want to be a part of her life. I want this, which suggests that when he went into prison, he didn't.
Yeah, or just didn't. Like, I guess you could easily write that off as being like he had already been replaced by what's his nuts.
I guess that's true.
Paxton. He didn't feel like he had a place in his daughter's life. It's very likely he probably wasn't close with his daughter at all, which again begs the question why she is so just enamored with this man she's probably spent all of 5 minutes with.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you could probably chalk that all up to that. But that was sort of my big gripe with the film. That's like, your big motivation doesn't really make any sense to me.
Yeah. And okay, so now to follow on that as well. Big motivation is to specifically be the hero she already thinks you are.
Right.
Like that is his ex-wife's words to him. And he's like, I want to go straight. And then he just, and like Pym kind of hangs a lampshade on it when he's like, well, when things get hard, you turn right back to crime. But in this movie, he proceeds to like be a hero, but in such a way that it's going to get him arrested and thrown back in jail. And he sort of lucks his way out of that because Paxton's not a total jerk.
Yeah.
And then in the next movie, like the very next movie after this one, he sides with the team that's going up against the government and ends up a fugitive again. Like, like, come on, dude.
Yeah, he just, I mean, yeah, it's just one of those, like, always a dumbass, always a dumbass.
Yeah, but
he just can't break that cycle.
Yeah, but it kind of undermines his core motivation in this film.
I mean,
a little bit. I
guess it doesn't. It doesn't. Like it's just. I mean, it's just characters need flaws, and him just sort of falling back into this pattern of. And the thing is that he's always close enough to the line, I think, that he can justify it.
Yeah.
Right? Is that he's always like, no, I'm doing this for the right reasons, and to be honest, they are.
For the most part, yeah.
Fundamentally, they are for the right reasons. So that, I guess, just sort of keeps it okay in his head. But yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
All right, let's say something nice about this movie because we've sort of been harshing on it for a while now. I really like Paul Rudd as Scott in this movie.
I like everybody as everybody in this movie.
Yeah,
like,
I think that's fair.
The casting is pretty much great all the way around. I like Paul Rudd. I think he's great.
I think I read that there was rumors going around that Joseph Gordon-Levitt was being tapped to possibly play Ant-Man.
Yes.
I think that could have easily worked, to be honest. But no, Paul Rudd seems like the sort of right mix of sort of goofy, lovable, affable character. Mm-hmm. Who I think worked fairly well. And, we talked a little bit about Michael Douglas. Just having somebody of his stature in this film is just always a great idea. I love Judy Greer and would have loved to have seen more of her. But I understand that, that's probably not in the cards.
I'm trying to remember who Judy Greer played.
His ex-wife.
Oh, right, of course.
Yeah. And then his very ridiculous crew, led by Michael Pena, is that guy is he's got a weird list of movies that he's been in. He's done a lot of really random stuff over the years. Mm-hmm. And I've always liked him in all the stuff that he's done, and I'm excited that we're going to see him coming back in the next film. I think everybody in this movie, with obviously the exception of Corey Stoll, who plays Darren Cross, the bad guy,
right,
is coming back in the follow-up, which I'm excited about because I think this was a good cast, and I think this movie could have been something good had Edgar Wright and the studio been able to work it out, or if that had just never happened in the first place.
Yeah.
Like, I think this is a movie that just straight up just kind of got the raw end because of all of the drama that followed it.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. I think it was probably a mistake, like knowing that this was a passion project of Edgar Wright's for as long as it was prior to the beginning of the MCU, it was probably a mistake to hire him. And I can see why they would do that calculus. He's like, oh, he spent so much time with it. He's such a good director with a name and cachet. But you had to, and I think they probably have learned their lesson from this movie. But when a director has got that much personal history with a project, they're going to want to make the movie their way. And at this point, we were two phases into the MCU. When Thor 2 came out, there was a bunch of, like, the director of Thor 2 basically was like, oh, I don't want to do this again. There's too much studio meddling, and like, I don't want to be making part of a universe. I want to make my own film. And it's like, okay, well, yeah, you're making a movie in the MCU. It's been a thing now for 10 years. You've got to know that you're making an MCU movie coming on board. And if that's going to be a problem for you, you should not sign on to this project. Because it is the wrong project for you. And so between those two things, it's like, I completely agree with you. It's either it needed to not be an MCU movie done by Edgar Wright, and in that case, I suspect we probably would have gotten a much stronger heist movie out of it, or it needed to be not Edgar Wright's film at all. And had it gone one way or the other, it would have been a better film.
Yes,
and the result is that we just see there are a lot of seams in this movie. Like, it's just showing the cracks of its creation, and it's an imperfect film. It's not a bad film. It's just a very imperfect film.
That's fair. What was your favorite goof of this film?
Dear.
What goof worked for you?
Okay, so there's a few that I like. Possibly my favorite scene in the whole movie is the fight in the briefcase as they're falling out of the helicopter.
Yes.
Where they're like, but it's not the actual fight in the briefcase. It's one specific shot, and it's after they've had the fight in the briefcase and the iPod has turned on and started playing The Cure. And then there's just this wide shot of a briefcase with laser beams shooting out of it to The Cure before it crashes into the pool. And that one shot makes me laugh every single time. I love that shot. One of my other favorite goofs in this movie is after he gets fired from Baskin Robbins. Mm-hmm. So there's two related to this, which is when he's getting fired, he's like, so you spent 3 years in prison. He's like, oh, you found out Baskin Robbins always finds out. And then he goes home and he's like, yeah, they I got fired. They found out I was a criminal. And Michael Pena is like, oh man, Baskin Robbins always finds out. That's a great little bit. But I think even more than that, I like the if you want, you can grab one of those mango smoothies on your way out, and I'll just pretend it didn't happen. And then the next shot, he's like sipping on this giant mango smoothie that he then throws in the trash. It's just like, it's a little detail that I just love. It's like, he did it. Stick it to the man, Scott.
Yeah, he took his one free drink.
Yeah,
I agree. I mean, straight up, my favorite goof is the briefcase scene with the shouting, and Siri mishears him and starts playing The Cure. That's just good stuff.
Yep.
And obviously the set piece, the big sort of set piece in the little girl's room on the train track with Thomas whatever the heck his name is.
Thomas the Tank Engine.
Thomas the Tank Engine. And they, they're doing this big fight, pull back wide, just as the Hornet is, or not the Hornet,
Yellow Jacket,
just as Yellow Jacket is about to get run over, and the train just sort of like hops and skips and just falls over, like just completely innocently. Like, it's just like, oh right, they're two tiny little Ant-Men fighting around. That was really good.
It puts it all in perspective really well. I also really love the scene where they shrink the lamb. Like, both of them are actually really good, but the first one when they bring the lamb in, and it's the most adorable little lamb you've ever seen, and it's just meh. Meh.
It's like, I thought we were using mice.
What's the difference?
Yeah.
And then just the framing of the shot and the close up of its face just before they turn it into a little pile of goo is hilarious.
Yeah.
And then when they successfully do it and Cross flicks the container and the little lamb inside topples over. Oh man, it's good.
I wonder whatever happened to that lamb.
I don't know. It
probably died.
It probably died. They disposed of it.
There's a giant ant now. That's cool.
Yeah, there is a giant ant now. Counter, I'm gonna express a joke that I don't like in this movie.
And
I only don't like it because they oversell it. They overwrote the joke. and it's the keychain tank. So
yeah, they really. I said that while watching last night. I was like, they really jammed this fucking tank. Ooh, I'm sorry, that's the first time I've sworn on this podcast. They really jammed that tank in your face.
Yeah,
like numerous times just to really drive it home.
Well, like, okay, so the tank is there multiple times, and that's fine. That's like set up, reinforce it, whatever. It's like every time it's in shot, there's a reason for it to be in shot, whatever. But when they actually use it, he's like, he pulls it out of his pocket and is like, and like, Hope looks at it and then looks at him puzzled. And all they needed to do at that point was cut to the next shot of the tank bursting through the side of the building with the keychain attached to it.
Yeah, him saying,
but instead he
it's
says,
not just,
it's not a tank.
No, it's not a keychain.
Oh, right, it's not a keychain.
It's not just a keychain or something like
and it's
that.
Like,
and it's just like,
why did you include that line? You sucked all the wind out of that joke.
Yeah.
It is a movie about shrinking things. Do you honestly think the audience is not going to follow the fact that he shrunk a tank? How did he blow up that keychain?
Yeah. You're not wrong. All right. I'm starting to like this movie less talking to you.
Mission accomplished. One thing I do like is when he goes to the microscopic realm, like the quantum realm.
When he goes subatomic.
Yes, you can clearly see the original Wasp silhouetted in the background.
Yes,
which is just a neat little thing hinting we know she's going to be in the next one. So
yeah, she's coming back. Like, come on.
Yeah,
come on. Yeah.
Spoilers, by the way, if you haven't been paying attention to the pre-pro news for Ant-Man and the Wasp, but she's coming back.
I don't think it's really spoilers.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
You got anything else you want? You got anything else you want to talk about this movie?
Jeez, I don't know. The two scenes where Louis is regaling us with how he came to learn about a tip.
Yeah.
Those are both really, really good scenes. They are really good.
Michael Pena is just really good in this movie.
Yes, he is. But it's not just him.
Again,
like he's delivering the lines, but everybody else is talking like, well, I mean, I guess he's delivering the lines in sync with them, with the staging of the scene, probably, in terms of how they actually filmed and put the scene together. But those are just really well done scenes. They're great. They're funny and they are clever and they work really, really, really well. And I wish the rest of the movie was as tight as those scenes were.
It's also almost assuredly the other way around. He would have recorded his dialogue first, then they would have filmed those scenes.
You think so?
Yes.
And then they would have just been lip syncing to his dialogue?
Correct. So they would have gotten his audio recordings and dialogue, and they would have worked out how to voice.
And how to stage, like how to do all the blocking and the camera movements along with his voice. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Should we rank this one?
I think so.
Okay. Do you know where you want to put it?
Ish.
Okay, I'll go first this time. I feel like I make you go first a lot.
Okay.
So I will rank this movie first. And I'm going to put this movie... I'm going to put this movie above Iron Man 2. So that puts it at currently my number 10. With Iron Man 2 and Hulk below it. And here's the thing. So this has come up a few times. I honestly think that Hulk is a better movie as a whole, like at looking at it as critically as possible and ignoring my sort of my biases and my enjoyment of it. I honestly think Hulk is probably better than a few of the movies that are currently ahead of it. But in terms of my enjoyment and me liking this movie, and that's what this list is about, I still like Ant-Man more than I like Hulk and more than I like Iron Man 2.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
So where would you put your film? Where would you put this one for you?
So I'm just quickly looking at my ranking so far. So
I mean, I just assume it's in the top 3. By
absolutely,
the way, you've talked about it this whole
absolutely. I don't know. It's either my ninth or my 10th. But I think it goes between Iron Man 2 and the Hulk for the same reason that I think Hulk is a better movie on the whole. But I like this one more. Like this one's more fun.
I don't know. It is.
Feels...
It's more fun. It's clearly just so much more connected to the MCU, and that's what I love about these dumb movies. And that's the reason why Hulk is at the bottom. Again, honestly, I think Hulk is actually a better movie than Iron Man 2. It's a better movie than Ant-Man. It's a better movie than Thor: Dark World, I think. It might even be better. No, it's not better than Captain America. That's where it probably starts losing me.
Yeah.
I think if I just look at it with a critical eye and ignore everything, it's like 9th. But on my list, it's 11th or now 12th because it just doesn't get me as excited and happy as all these other movies do. So.
Yeah, and like I don't know, this is a fun movie. It's tough. I think this occupies very much the same space for me as Iron Man 2 does, but I just have more grudges against this movie than I do against Iron Man 2. So I'm putting this one between Iron Man 2 and the Hulk.
All right. Well, there we have it. That was a good one. I think that's probably I'm just looking forward. No movie coming up, spoiler alert, will fall below this movie.
You're probably right.
For me personally, I can guarantee you that no movie will fall below Ant-Man on my list.
Okay. Yeah. I am thinking about what movies are coming up, and I agree.
Which I'm really excited about because, like, the string... So we just have a string of just, in my opinion, some of the best movies in the MCU, and they should be because they just get better at making these.
Mm-hmm.
Next up is Civil War, which I'm so excited to watch.
You and me both.
And
so
really
good.
excited to talk about because that's probably going to be another real long episode.
Uh-huh.
And then we got Doctor Strange, which, here's a fun personal fact, is the only MCU movie I did not see on opening weekend.
Oh.
In fact, I did not see Doctor Strange until very, very, very late November.
Wow.
Because it came out right around Desert Bus time, and I just didn't have the ability to do anything. And I think that was also the year. Yeah, that was Desert Bus 10, right?
Yes.
2016.
Yeah.
That was the year where we were looking for a place to do it, and it was just a giant headache and getting all that set up. So it just completely skipped by me.
Right.
And it's the only one that I didn't see on opening weekend.
Right. That was the same year that Arrival came out, wasn't it?
Yeah, I believe so.
So
yeah.
I saw it the day before coming to Desert Bus, and then saw Arrival after Desert Bus that year.
Nice.
And
then we've got Guardians 2.
Yep.
And then we've got Spider-Man Homecoming,
Yep.
which I know people are sort of split on, but I really like that movie.
I like it more than I like Ant-Man.
Yeah, that's true. And then we've got the third Thor movie, which I love. We've got Black Panther, which everybody loves. And then we're done.
Except that one guy.
Yeah, except that one guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're catching up here pretty good.
We are.
So
I was blown away to see when I was looking at the list. It's like, oh, what's coming up after this? Civil War? No, that can't be right. We can't be in Civil War already.
Yeah, it's insane. So we are recording this, just a really quick sort of housekeeping before we close the show up. We are recording this episode on March 20th. This episode goes up on March 25th. That means Civil War is going to go up on April 1st. Doctor Strange will go up on April 8th. Guardians of the Galaxy will go up, I think, a few days later.
Mm-hmm.
On the probably 11th or 12th. Then we'll do Spider-Man Homecoming on the 15th.
Yeah.
And then we'll do Thor Ragnarok on, again, either probably the 18th or 19th. We'll figure out if it's going to be a Wednesday or Thursday. We haven't decided yet. And then the 22nd will be Black Panther. And then we have our tickets.
We do.
To Avengers Infinity War for Thursday night at 10 o'clock or something like that.
Yeah, the late show.
Yeah, the late show, directly after which we will go to the office and record our episode. And probably, it'll probably come out Friday because I'm not going to wait around the office and wait for it to encode.
Yeah.
Because it takes like an hour. So I'll set it to encode overnight, and then when I get in Friday morning, we'll put it up first thing. So you could theoretically, if you for some reason wanted to, and assuming you don't go to the Thursday night show, listen to our episode on Infinity War before you go see it yourself. But that would be silly. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Please don't.
And then after that, I hop back on a ferry, come back to Vancouver, hang out with my parents for the weekend, and then go see Infinity War again on Monday because I have tickets to my second viewing already.
Nice. Yeah, I think I'm going again on the Sunday. So, I mean, at this rate, maybe I'll just go to the early show on Thursday.
That would be rude.
Yeah, it would be rude.
Also,
but
you have to pick me
funny.
up from the ferry on that Thursday, so you can't be watching the show.
You have a car?
I'm not bringing my car for one night.
You monster. All right. Well, I think that's going to just about do it for this week's episode. Hey, look at that. An episode that came in at under an hour. That's impressive.
We're not done yet.
We're going to get there. I swear to God, we're going to do it. So really quickly, thank you everybody so much for listening and continuing to support this project. It's been a lot of fun. We couldn't do it without your support over at patreon.com/loadingreadyrun. That allows us to more or less do everything that we do here, and we love you for it. If you want to follow me or Matt on Twitter, I'm at James_LRR. Matt is Matt_LRR. You can find links to all of our stuff in the description below. YouTube channels, Twitch channels.
Yep.
I'll try to find Matt's old dead journal.
Cool. I'm pretty sure I had a live journal actually, but you probably don't want to do that.
I didn't ever get an invite to live journal, so I had a dead journal like a nub.
Yeah. With regards to YouTube, I did actually update my YouTube channel this week.
Oh, well, damn.
Yeah,
Look at
two
you.
new
And
episodes.
You streamed.
I did stream. 2 new episodes of my Final Fantasy VI playthrough went up. The third episode will go up sometime, or like another episode will go up sometime this week because, of course, I streamed on Sunday. And I have a plan for how to get my vlog back on track. So look forward to that. I realize that this is like the 4th consecutive episode where I've said, look forward to that. And you may have noticed that I have a few projects going on, but
we say that so much, it's not even funny.
Yeah, but
it's just
it's
easy.
coming.
It's easy to say, yeah, we're working on it.
We
actually are. We generally are. We don't lie about that, but yeah.
I actually tried to get it done on Sunday, but I just ran out of time in the day.
That's fair. There should be more time in a day.
I agree.
Yeah. Let's bump these bad boys up to like 34 hours.
Sure. You mean each episode of this podcast, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Precisely. All right. Thank you everybody for listening. And make sure to like, share, and subscribe.
That's what you're supposed to say on YouTube.
Yep, that's what I'm supposed to say on YouTube. So do that immediately. Do you think they're gone yet? Okay, I think it's safe to talk about the mid-credit and end-credit scene. I gave that one a lot of time this week. I felt like it was time to pull out a little bit longer one. That was a solid, 15 seconds, I think. Oh, dear. Everybody probably hates me. All right, hey, mid-credit scene. We sort of alluded to it earlier, or Matt sort of chatted about it a little earlier. But the mid-credit scene has Pym showing what's her name, Hope, the Wasp prototype soup, and says, we were working on this.
Oh, right. There's
What are
a
you
mid-credit
doing?
scene that we're supposed to be talking about.
Did you just leave?
No.
What are you even
I didn't
doing?
actually. I was just patting it out. But I did love that Pym shows Hope the super soup.
The super soup. Sounds delicious.
It does sound
Yes.
delicious.
Pym shows Hope the prototype soup. I can't say soup today. Pym. Okay, hold on.
Penguins.
Pym shows Hope a new Wasp prototype suit.
There you go.
And says, hey, your mother and I were working on this back when she was still alive, and she never got to use it for obvious reasons because, she went subatomic, boo-hoo. But, hey, I realized that we were working on it for you this whole time. And she's like, "Boat damn." I love her line here, by the way.
Her line is really good.
Her line is really good, and I'm really glad she had the line that she did, because I think if it had been like, "Oh, thank you, Daddy," or "Thank God," but no, it's just like, "Boat damn time."
Yeah.
Like, it does not make up for the fact that, and you talked about it at length in the episode, her character was not great.
Yeah, not given anything to do in this movie.
Yeah.
About damn time was about an hour and 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, and I feel like maybe a little bit of legitimate anger in there on her part, being like, yeah, good. About goddamn time. So I'm really excited to see Ant-Man and Wasp. That is our third movie. That's our third 2018 MCU movie. So that's actually the movie that comes out after Infinity War.
Yes.
So we can look forward to that in, I think, the early fall or something like that.
This came out 2014, 2015?
2015.
So about damn time in the context of this was actually 3 years after this happened.
Yeah, exactly. But it's a good little scene. It just so clearly sets up the next movie. Mm-hmm. Good job, Marvel. This is the kind of mid-credit scene that I want to see. And then you just hit me with a double shot, because in the post-credit scene, we've got Falcon, we've got Cap, and we've got Bucky Barnes
with his hand in a vice.
With his hand in a vice. And they're talking about how it's too late. They can't talk to Tony Stark because of the Accords, which at this point we actually don't. I mean, sure, comic book nerds know what they're talking about, but general moviegoers don't know what the Accords mean, which are the Sokovia Accords, and that's a big plot line of Civil War. But Wilson mentions that, hey, I know a guy who could maybe help us out. Now, there isn't a whole lot of context for that in this post-credit scene. Like, there's no reason given as to why they need to contact or get a hold of Ant-Man, right?
Yeah.
In this scene, there's no reason for it.
No, it's just a tease.
It's just a tease, which is fine. I feel like they probably could have done it with something a little more innocuous and not so like, here we have Falcon and freaking Captain America with Bucky Barnes trapped in the thing saying we can't talk to Tony Stark, and it's just like, that is a lot of information to parse. Mm-hmm. And now you're saying that you want to get us, you want to get a hold of Ant-Man. It's just like, I feel stupid for complaining about a post-credit scene that is doing exactly what I always want post and mid-credit scenes to do, which is set up the next movies. But maybe this one's actually a little much.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know.
This one's also, I don't want to say lazy, but it's a little lazy, because this post-credit scene is straight up just actually a clip from Civil War. Like, it's just, this scene happens in Civil War.
I can't remember. I feel like it's a little bit different in Civil War. I'm not 100% sure.
I don't remember.
I would be.
It's the same set piece happens in Civil War.
Yes, it is. It is very similar to a scene in Civil War. But I do believe that this was shot specifically for this. I assume with knowledge that something similar would exist in
the final film. Yeah.
I don't know if that's actually true. I can't remember. But I do remember, obviously, yes, this is a scene from the next movie. I don't really necessarily think that's lazy. I honestly, if you want to give me a mid-credit scene that hints at a future movie and a post-credit scene that hints at the next movie, and that hint is, hey, here's a very small clip from a scene from that movie, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, fair enough.
I guess I just would like a little bit more context or scale back how much information that you are trying to convey, because again, there's just a lot to process in this scene. And again, it's not a bad thing. It's just rein it in.
Rein it in, he says.
Rein it in.
All right.
Just,
well, you're impossible to please.
I am 100% impossible to please.
First you want more, now you want less. Jeez, James, make up your mind.
I am a whiny child. That's fair. All right. Actually done. Didn't come in under the hour
I was going to say, I got some bad news for you, James.
Wait, that's not true. This is the recording. There's the beginning and the... Yes, we're good. Okay. We're going to end it right here. Goodbye.
Bye, everyone.
That might get cut for time.